The following program is presented by the Metropolitan Library Service Agency.
Hello, welcome to All About Kids, a program focusing on the interests of children and young people and some of the issues affecting them. In the spring of 1990, a new radio service premiered in the Twin City area. Its format is geared specifically to children and young people. WWTC 1280 on your AM dial became Radio Oz. Michael Jaye, program director for Radio Oz, and Autumn Ness, one of the teenage disc jockeys, will be our guests today. Michael Jaye and Autumn Ness, it's a pleasure to have you here on the program today. And we're going to be talking about Radio Oz, which I think is probably one of the most exciting and creative things that has happened to children's media in this area for a long time. Michael, you're the program director. Who had this idea? How did it get started? Tell us all about it.
How much time have you got? We got some time?
Quite a bit.
Okay. Here, the story of Radio Oz in a nutshell, Gretchen, is that back in the early 1980s, a gentleman by the name of Bill Oswalt had an idea that there was no radio for kids. There was TV for kids in the Children's Television Workshop. There was, the Sesame Street programs. There was Captain Kangaroo. I mean, there was a lot of children's programming on TV. There was nothing on radio. And Bill came up with the idea, and he started doing the research on it and started looking at the fact that there was children's music, but nobody was playing it, had no outlet. So he came up with the idea for Radio Oz, put the format together and put it together in 6 test markets, and I can't even tell you where all those are. I know that Grand Rapids, Phoenix, there's various markets that he put it in. And he had to take it off the air for a while in the late 1980s, and on May 12th, 1990, he launched it in Minneapolis on WWTC.
And what is the call letter for that station?
WWTC, Radio Oz.
Okay. And you've had a wild outcry from the public.
We have had an absolute phenomenal response from the public.
Well, one of the things I've been listening now as I go to and from work, and I'm just intrigued at children who call in and they're involved in the games. And from the sound of the voices, those are young children. And Autumn, you as a disc jockey, I guess, have answered all 10,000.
Oh, yeah. Seems like it. Though.
And do you have any sense of the age of the kids that are listening?
Mostly like 5 to 15-year-olds, actually.
You know, we have a lot of people on our staff who have young children, and they are faithful listeners. And I like the way you talk, like during the morning traffic report, you say parents and caregivers. So you're not just talking about the parent, you're focusing on the extended.
Right, that's something that we really take care in. And you were talking about the games. It's funny. We've had winners as young as 3. I had one that was 3 today, and I had one a couple weeks ago in which the lady was 72.
Wow.
And she just loves Radio Oz.
It's great intergenerational programming. Now, when Minneapolis was chosen as the site for this, what were some of the criteria? Why us?
Well, they had to start when Mr. Oswald took the test markets apart to analyze them and to fix them and to improve on them. He knew that he had to get into a market where there were a lot of kids. Okay, Minneapolis, being in the Midwest, has got one of the largest bases of children. On an old census, the figure 412,000 children under the age of 12 comes to mind, and I've got an idea that with the new census coming out that's going to change. And we had to start in a major market because of the advertisers that are available, that are here, and the money, the dollars that are spent on advertising are here. But basically, it was the population and the fact that in the Twin Cities plus suburbs, there's over 2 million people.
You've had a lot of response then, I would imagine, from some of your listeners.
We've had incredible response. It has just been phenomenal. The people that come through, and Autumn knows that they call on the brain game, and when they win on the brain game, they have to come down to the studio to pick up their prizes. That's one of the criteria, and they came through all summer, and they came in big bunches. There was a time, and we have a relatively small studio, and in the lobby, when I walked out of my office and into the lobby, I couldn't walk into the lobby without literally crawling over chairs to get around people, because there were so many people in the lobby to come to pick up their prizes.
Well, that's exciting, because it gives kids a sense of how a show is produced and what goes on behind the scenes.
And the one thing that's nice about it is they associate a name with a face, and it gives them a little more sense of pride, sense of ownership.
That's a real interesting point you bring up, because children are so used to television, they're so used to associating the image with the words, and radio is a whole nother thing for a lot of children, and it's the imagination. And do you look like you should look when they hear your voice? Or Autumn, you said that some of the kids said you really have a nice voice.
Oh, yeah. And they come in and they say, oh, you look just like we imagined you.
That's true.
We get that a lot.
Yeah.
Well, Autumn, how did you get involved with Radio Oz?
I work with the Children's Theater, and Radio Oz called them to get some kids to audition. We had about 18 kids audition.
Yeah.
And I read some stuff, and they interviewed me, and I got the job, and there's 5 of the kid DJs.
Being a disc jockey, though, is different than being in a theater company, isn't it? There, you memorize your lines, and you have someone telling you what to do all the time. And this way, it's kind of spontaneous, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have to think of things to say real fast. And you do a lot of work with Michael?
We used to.
We spent the summer together.
And you're still talking to each other,
Yeah.
so it must have
yeah.
gone okay.
Yeah, we had a great time. We really did. A lot of fun.
So is the show continually evolving, or not only, it's more than a show, it's a whole day's activities?
Radio Oz is evolving, yeah. But then
the two of you
the
and
individuals, we found that the kid DJs and the adult DJs evolved too, and we grew to know what each other was thinking, and that's important in radio. Is you've got to be able to talk back and forth, and not come off. The one thing that we didn't want to do was come off sounding like, we're some grown-ups running a children's radio station, and here we're letting these little kids talk on the radio, and we didn't want that to happen. We had specific times that we got together with the kids, and literally taught them some of the things that we as adults got in broadcasting school about being on the air, and so that.
Well, I think the whole sense of all the programming that I heard is a deep respect for children, the kind of music you play, the games, and there isn't any kind of talking down to anybody, either your audience or the repartee among them.
Yeah, that was another thing that we had to be very careful of, because it did happen, and we've had a couple of comments, but nothing real serious. But yeah, we respect the kids, we love them, and we want them to feel that Radio Oz is their radio station, that they have a sense of ownership and a sense of pride in what goes on the air.
In addition to the music, you do other kinds of programs. You have some readings, you're focusing on books and stories.
Yeah, we have lunchtime and evening theater, and we're in the process of expanding that right now. And then we also just, first part of October here, added bedtime stories with Brian Baxter. And at 20 after 8 each evening, he comes in and he reads a story for about 5 minutes. And it was something that I had started a long time ago in the evening, knowing that my own kids at about 8:15, 8:30 are getting ready for bed. And I couldn't be with them at home to read them a story, so I read it on the air, and we started getting some response to it. And when I moved to days, first part of June, there was that gap that people really liked, and they called and said, "Where's bedtime story?"
Well, bedtime story is a habit. You have to do it every night. And so he's from Baxter Bookstore, downtown Minneapolis.
Right.
What kinds of things are you going to be doing as your role in this evolves, Autumn? You think you're going to keep on being a disc jockey?
I think so. It works out with school fine, and everything.
That's a real question. Why don't you tell the viewers how your school schedule works out?
I used to do, during the summer, I did all Monday through Friday, 1 to 3, and I didn't do any Saturdays, did I? I do Saturdays now, though. Now I do Mondays, 4 to 7, and I do like every other Saturday or every other 2 Saturdays.
And it doesn't get in the way of homework?
No.
And what grade are you in, and where do you go to school?
I'm in 7th, and I go to Epiphany School, and that's in Coon Rapids.
And your brother and sister are both in the acting and modeling?
Yeah, my sister is. My brother's in the modeling, but he's not really into it at all. He's more into the baseball and hockey and things like that.
Kind of stereotyped, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's at that age. Are you? What about the other disc jockeys that you're working with? Who are some of them?
There's
and what
5
are
of
their
us, and
ages?
we all know each other. We all did children's theater shows together, and when we saw each other at the auditions, it was just, hi, how you doing? And we didn't have to get to know anybody because we already knew all of us.
Well, that works out, adds to that family feeling. Do you have some input then into the types of music that Michael chooses, for instance? If you think something is a real dud or something that's going to be real popular?
No, I can request songs, whether he plays them for me or not.
She
is the
never
question.
failed to let me know if she didn't like a song.
Well, that's a question that came up from one of the staff people here. Can kids call in and request songs?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
you'll try to play it? And do you say we're playing this for Carrie on her 7th birthday, for instance?
For the most part, we tried to. You know, the request line number 379-1280. We say it so much, it becomes ingrained in us. Yeah, we want kids to call up. We want them to request songs. As a matter of fact, we started the Radio Oz Top 10 Countdown, and that we're expanding it now so that it's heard on Saturday afternoons, Sunday morning, and Sunday night. Styx Franklin counts down the top 10 requests.
Well,
on
that's
Radio Oz.
exciting to
Yeah.
listen and see if your name is
Yep.
going to be mentioned on the
Yep.
radio. You do a little bit different type of programming later in the evening. Obviously, you're appealing to an older audience.
Right. We go from, and this was something that we had really no idea when we started, and I became involved in the programming of Radio Oz in June, that the kids were an older demographic, they were an older age during the day. Then in the evening, we saw that the numbers were going down for the younger kids and going up for the older kids. So then what we figured on doing was, and we heard from parents, and this is something that I've always encouraged parents to do, is call me. If they have a question, if they have a comment, we are not infallible, you know, we don't have all of the answers. We're more than happy to talk to parents about questions or concerns or whatever. And I got calls from parents saying that the music between 8 and 9 was too loud. Excuse me. They felt that the rock lyric, or not the rock lyrics, but the rock sound to some of the kids' music was just a little too loud for the kids going to bed. So, in answer to that, we slowed the music down. We play more lullabies between 8 and 9, and then at 9 o'clock, we play the music that the older kids want to hear that are still up.
It's a good combination. You're going to have everyone tune in all the time. What are you doing in terms of promoting this in child care centers, in the schools? Are you working with any educators or with any of the local child advocacy organizations?
On Thursday nights at 9 o'clock, we work with the Early Childhood Family Education Services through St. Paul, through the St. Paul school districts. Beth Sandell and Ron Gustafson host a program called Families Today, and it's on Thursday night at 9, and it's a parents' talk show. It's a chance for the kids have gone to bed now. Now it's mom and dad's turn, and each week they bring on an expert, and that may be someone talking about sibling rivalry, or they may be talking about how do you handle pets in the family with the kids. So each Thursday night they bring in an expert, and it's mom and dad's turn to call in. And as far as the daycare centers, that's coming along slow but sure. We're working on some promotions with the daycare centers.
Somehow I had a vision when I've been listening to some of the programs of all the kids in daycare doing the exercises and doing the ABC game, and just having this be a part of their regular day too.
Yeah, it's funny how many people have not heard of Radio Oz yet. And I mean, we're not even 6 months old yet. So we're still in the early stages, and it's just a matter of time before we get all the daycares involved.
I think you're becoming a presence in the community recently at the Candlelight Vigil in late September of 1990. Robin, one of your adult disc jockeys, was on the center stage there promoting that. So it seemed to me as though you're going to be taking a role in the community as a child advocacy, as well as an entertainment organization.
Yeah. And that's something that we're, it's a fine line that we walk. We don't want to preach at the kids. We have, Autumn and I have kind of a running joke about some of the return liners, and a return liner is that little blurb that you hear the disc jockey say after a commercial. And all of those were written very specifically not to be preachy. We don't want the kids to think that we're telling them they can't do something, but we want them to realize that there are things in life that they need to pay attention to. My favorite is about playing fair. It's not whether you win or lose, it's how you play the game. Play fair.
Well, again, when you build up a trust relation with children who listen because they enjoy the music or they enjoy the games, you have a certain credibility with those kids, and you can say things like that, and they'll listen. That theme of cooperation comes through in a lot of the music you play, too.
Yeah, it does.
I also like the fact that you play songs in Spanish, you play songs in French. You're kind of adding a cultural diversity.
And we're adding German, too, Gretchen.
I can speak a little German myself.
Yeah, German, and then there's another one coming out, too, soon. I'm not sure what. And we're just going to, we're not going to have an entire language program, but we're going to.
Well, it's just.
We're not so good at pronouncing those titles.
That's right.
We've tried that before, and we sort of failed miserably.
To say the least.
It's like, I can't pronounce this.
It doesn't help to spell it when you're talking to preschoolers either. Well, I think that's the variety and the diversity. Are you ever going to be thinking about having any traditional storytellers from some of the ethnic communities in the metro area, like the Hmongs or the Hispanic or the Native American?
Yeah, we're in the process of exploring that right now, and that's one of the things that came out in visiting with various people. Is I had a meeting with the Black Alliance Theater, and they are a group of storytellers, and we were talking about how do we incorporate the other ethnic communities in the Twin Cities area into the programming of Radio Oz. And we are working on some plans right now so that, in October here, that down the road here we'll be able to incorporate the communities of color.
That'll be exciting. It will add a richness and variety
we're real excited about it.
That we all need. Sounds like you have some real long-range plans. What is your sponsor thinking? Is he pleased with the way things are going?
The sponsors are very pleased. The response that we get from the audience is just, so overwhelming that it's a lot of fun to see a radio station really work the way that Radio Oz does.
Well, you are an alternative, and there simply isn't anything else. A while ago, you talked a little bit about sort of a survey after you've gotten started. Have you done some direct surveys to find out who was listening when you talked about the older kids listening in the evening, later in the evening?
We've taken, let's see, the Radio Oz Brain Game. Bless your little
that's
heart.
Your baby.
Her hand still hurts from writing all of these names.
And the first thing he does when I walk in, he takes the telephone from his side of the room and moves it right over. Here's the telephone for you.
He's had a long, hard day. He's just been in school.
He leaves me all the lines open for me.
Yeah, but I always ask you if you wanted the phone, didn't I?
He really cares.
Yeah.
So you're sort of doing your own survey.
We do our
kids
own in-house
call in,
survey.
you make the hash marks of the age.
And we take all of the survey forms and apart in that we put them all into a computer, and the computer prints out the ages and zip codes, and we're finding out that between 8 and 9 there's a very high number of children that are 4, 5, and 6, and at 9 o'clock at night those numbers get to be very low, and the 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds, those numbers go up at 9 o'clock at night.
Have you considered going on location, for instance, going out to a school and doing a program, or going to some community agency like a library, for instance?
No, we haven't
setting
thought
up in
about
the
that.
meeting
Maybe
room?
we'll have to
I think
talk
that'd be
about
a great idea.
Autumn and I did a couple of live shows. Where did we do? We did the Hennepin County Fair
Taste of Minnesota.
and Taste of Minnesota. Was there another one?
I don't think so.
I think that was it. Yeah, we did 2 this summer, where we did our entire radio show live. And the one at the Hennepin County Fair was, hold on to your umbrella.
I can imagine a lot of background noise,
Yeah.
too.
But yeah, we've taken our show on the road, so to speak. And then we also make a lot of appearances at various places. The Minneapolis Public Library has asked us to be readers in November. So
For their Day of the Young Reader.
Right,
That's-
right. There's 2 days. There's the 13th and the 14th of November, 1990, that Radio Oz will have Alex, Robin, Styx, and myself. We will be at various libraries around the Twin Cities reading, or in the Minneapolis area.
That's
reading
exciting.
stories and books.
And that's during Children's Book Week, so
Yeah.
that's another way of promoting reading, and that's an exciting tie-in, I think, again,
Mm-hmm.
between the media and books and reading, because, again, children listen to those that they admire on the media. And
Mm-hmm.
when you talk about books or going to the library, that's a real key thing
And
for
that's
kids.
something that we want the kids to be involved in. We want them to be involved in reading. We want them to be involved in thinking, and that's something that we always think about in everything that we do in programming. Excuse me, is how are the kids going to relate to this?
Well, obviously, if they're intrigued by the kind of games you're doing, which are thought games, you have to think, which way do the hands go on
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
a clock?
A lot
with
of
very
them we
young
couldn't answer
child.
if we didn't have the answer in front of us.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, there was a word in the spelling game this morning, wizardry, and I was trying to figure out myself. I knew how
Oh,
to
my
spell
parents
that.
are always doing, how did you do that on one brain game?
Yeah.
I didn't.
Who comes up with those? Are you involved in that, Autumn?
I do all the spelling games. All the kids do their own spelling games. Who comes up with the
Alex
brain game?
Amerslav, who is Alex in the morning. He spends at least 4 hours every day in the afternoon and late morning after he gets off the air at 9 o'clock. He spends at a desk just writing up
I bet
all
he's a
of these- all
crossword
these
puzzle
questions.
freak, too, is he?
I don't know if he is, but he's very good at trivia. He's very, very good at it.
Well, children love that type
yeah.
of thing. They really enjoy it. It might as well be the kind of painless, the spoonful of sugar type.
And then Autumn,
Yeah.
she would cruise the paper when she got in the afternoon for all of the
Spelling words.
Yeah. She came up with some dandies. too.
Well, and there is no reason why learning can't be fun, and that's one of the things that I think this kind of programming encourages. It's fun to know how to spell, and it's fun to learn, and it's fun to be a good speller. All that
Especially when
kind
you're
of
winning
stuff.
prizes.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
Yeah, that's right.
The other thing that I appreciate, both as a librarian and a parent, your advertising is really very tasteful, and it doesn't seem to me to be too emphatic.
There are, believe it or not, standards that Radio Oz, that Mr. Oswalt set up in the beginning. And they are pretty emphatic that we will never ask a child to go to their mom and dad and tell them to buy this type of thing. We won't advertise various products, obviously the lottery. We won't advertise alcohol. We won't advertise tobacco products. So, I mean, there's some things that we'll just say, I'm sorry, we're not going to advertise this because it is not good for the kids.
That's integrity, and I think that that's something that we can all appreciate.
In the 90s, you know, for them, and this is something that I came into, I think it's admirable that they're willing to do that, because I think the owners are really taking a stand and saying, we believe in the kids, and we're not going to do things that, you're not going to push things that are harmful to them.
You're not exploiting them, and that's something
Yeah.
that many advertisers, I think, do, particularly in other media, which we will not mention
Yeah.
here. And you think you're going to go on for a career in show business?
I think so. I enjoy it a lot.
Well, obviously, you do a real good job on this
Thanks.
program.
And I think probably, yeah.
That's exciting. We'll be watching for you.
Yeah.
I have very
Watching
much
for my name and lights.
Yeah.
We knew
And
her
then we
when.
can say, we knew her when,
That's
right? Yeah, yeah. Hey, I worked with her.
She
I
owes
made it,
everything
and
she
you
did.
didn't.
Yeah.
I think that's a
right.
very good note. Thank
Yeah.
you both for appearing on All About Kids today. We've appreciated it, and I'm certainly going to watch or listen
Yeah, please do.
more faithfully. You've just about got me weaned away from my favorite Riding to Work program.
We're finding there are parents that are saying, we no longer listen to, what radio station? We now listen to 1280 Radio Oz.
Maybe we'll even win something.
Yeah, you never know.
Now I need
You
to
can
get
call.
a car phone so I can do that. Would it be fair?
Oh, sure.
Compete with that
Absolutely.
72-year-old woman.
Absolutely.
Thank you both very much for being on the program today.
Thank you.
We have magic for you every day. Just turn to Radio Oz and let it play. There's lots of fun stuff you can learn and do. 'Cause kids are the people that we're talking to. It's more than music, it's more than fun. It's all the good stuff that radio does. You can hear us almost anytime you want. The educational, sensational Radio Oz.
Thanks for joining us on All About Kids. Please tune in again.
This has been a presentation of Hennepin County Library in conjunction with the Twin Cities Metropolitan Library Service Agency. We thank you for watching, and we hope you visit your public library often.